All right, thanks for joining us. My name is Gregory Scott Reinen. Welcome to Behind Sports. Today's guest is Mr. Ben Sturner of Leverage Agency out of Manhattan. Ben, thanks for coming on and taking the time.
Thank you. I'm excited to be part of the show.
Great. One, I'd like to know a little bit about you if you can. Just talk about your past, and how you got started in the sports agency.
Sure. I started actually in high school. I was calling into radio shows. I was from North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and they had a weekly sports radio talk show. And I would end up winning the sports trivia contest every week. And they, probably because there's only a few listeners, but we went a pizza and they said, "Come on in to do be a guest." And it's the Ben Sturner pick of the week, and I had this pick on the sports radio show of University of North Carolina. So that was one of my first starts in the sports. That went into an internship after high school, working at the first ever X Games,
Awesome.
which was called the Extreme Games at the time. It was in Newport, Rhode Island, and I was a production assistant. So basically getting things, coffee and helping out a company called Sports Media Technology Corporation, which was doing the scoring for the X Games. I then went off to Australia and did an internship. I worked for the Sydney Olympic Committee for over a year in Sydney in 1998, and spent another couple times doing Olympic work in NBC in '96, and also in 2000. After I graduated, I worked for Lycos doing the Olympic sponsorship for a community.
Great. So that's been since high school, kind of entrenched into the sports industry.
Yeah, 1995 I graduated, and it's almost been 20 years, so about 18 years.
Very cool. And you're a tennis player, right?
Yep, I am, and that was another reason. I mean, in high school I played. We won the state championship in North Carolina, but I realized I wasn't going to be Pete Sampras or Andre Agassi, so I figured, I have to go behind the scenes to really get into sports. And so I took every opportunity I could, internships, learning about the business side of sports, to take it to the next level. I played tennis and went to Boston University in the College of Communications, which is a great experience. Got me a lot of practical knowledge and hands-on training. But, I knew I wasn't going to play professional tennis, so why not do the next best thing?
Yeah, good deal. That's awesome. It sounds like just from the very beginning, playing tennis has probably helped out quite a bit. I mean, you learn a lot through the sport when you're playing sports at a high level as well. And we'll talk a little bit later in the interview about some advice getting into the sports industry. But it sounds like you had a very, very good, solid base of what you did out of high school, even.
Yeah, I did, and and I kept. You had to figure out exactly what you want to do. So I worked in Atlanta at the '96 Olympics and with ESPN and these internships in the summer in television production, right, and radio too. And it's not ultimately what I'm doing now, but I think learning a little bit of the sports industry is very important, which is the reason why I started the Manhattan Sports Business Academy, to give people out of college a chance to learn a little bit about the sports industry and to learn from the highest level executives. And also networking is so important. And networking, I think, is the number one thing that's taken me to where I am. Networking, hard work, and elbow grease.
There you go. Good old-fashioned elbow grease.
Yeah.
Never hurts. Awesome. Well, if we can, I'd like to talk a little bit about your company, a little bit about what you guys do, and then maybe go into some specifics. Can you just kind of go through some of the key focuses you guys have as a business?
Sure. I started Leverage in 2005, really focusing on the property consulting. So properties include leagues, teams, events, stadiums, athletes, television shows, online communities. We work with Jimmy Kimmel Live Show. We work with Reddit, the online front page of the internet. We work with the ACC conference. We work with the Ivy League. We're doing a Harvard-Yale hockey game, which we're creating and owning this past year. We're doing work with the WTA and the Women's Tennis Association. Great. And Top Rank Boxing and numerous properties. And then we marry those properties to brands such as Coca-Cola or Gillette or Kraft or Under Armour.
Great, that's awesome. So it seems like you're doing a lot of sponsorships when you're marrying the two, the actual property and then the company as well. Can you talk about how you identify the opportunity, or what do you look for when you're matching up a property and then a company who already has a large brand?
Sure, I think you have to have a lot of research, right? So you're not going to sell ice skating to Gillette men's razors, right?
Sure.
So you have to figure out the right demographic, psychographic that the company works with, and who they're targeting. Are they targeting a high household income? Is it a more upscale property? Are they looking for mass reach, which is where you want to get the bigger TV shows, or are they looking for a market in particular? Not every company is a national company, so we do a lot of regional sponsorships as well as national.
Great. It's funny you mentioned getting the right fit. I found one thing that was very interesting. One of the projects that you worked on, and I think you guys did PR on this project, was the David Beckham Super Bowl ad.
Sure.
Now, you think about David Beckham, you don't think Super Bowl. That's not the first thing that comes to mind. Just maybe as a person looking on it, can you talk about what the relationship there? You guys did it with H&M, right?
Yeah. So we were hired to do all their PR
right.
and strategy for the Super Bowl ad.
Sure.
So from the press release to booking the interviews to doing the B-roll for the satellite media tour, booking TV coverage around that, we had huge success with it. Obviously, David Beckham is an easy person to get some PR coverage, especially when he goes into underwear, which is what happened with H&M. But everything takes work. We had to carefully plan the exclusives with USA Today, and Today's Show had a good hit, and just a lot that goes on with the Super Bowl ad. And when you're spending over $3.5 million on one 30-second ad,
right.
you want to get a lot out of it, and much more than just the ad itself. So it was fun to work on the Beckham H&M campaign.
Great. So when you guys are working on that, you're booking media appearances. I mean, is that the major thing that you guys were doing on that particular one?
Yeah, that one is creative and strategy with the media and the appearance behind Beckham and H&M ad in particular.
Recently, you guys have also done some work with, I think you did some sponsorship work with the latest Pacquiao fight too. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. We've been working with Top Rank Boxing, which is the overseer, almost like the Major League Baseball is for baseball. They're one of the top two organizations in boxing. Has worked with Muhammad Ali to Pacquiao to George Foreman to all the greatest boxers. And so we've been working on the latest Pacquiao fight against Rios. We've done probably 5 or 6 other Pacquiao super fights where we bring in sponsors into the event. We did a Yankee Stadium fight with Foreman Cotto, where Under Armour was the official sponsor on the mat, on the front page, on the front of the entire mat.
That's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it's fun to go to Las Vegas for the big fights.
Sure.
And it's amazing how many Hispanic viewers are watching boxing. It's right up there with soccer, if not bigger right now. I think it's a great space to be in for a Hispanic brand. And speaking of Hispanics, we just launched a new division of our agency called Leverage Latino, which is it's in Miami, and it's really targeting the Hispanic communities and working with brands and multicultural side. We just signed on with the Miami Soccer Challenge, which will have some of the top English Premier League teams and other teams coming to Miami to play in a series of events, which we're going to be the agency for. And it's really helpful to have a Hispanic side of the business as, it's growing in leaps and bounds.
Great. That's a large space. It's another large space that you guys are jumping into.
It's really big.
You touched earlier on the Manhattan Sports Business Academy that you founded. Can you talk a little bit more about that too, and kind of what goes into it as far as being a student that's trying to get into it and everything that it entails?
Sure. And I was talking about getting into the industry. It's very difficult,
right?
And it always has been ever since I tried to get in with the Olympics and other internships. And I had interns for Leverage the past 6, 7, 8 years, and I wanted to build a deeper connection. And I'm passionate again about tennis, and I went to tennis academies where you train and you really specialize in something. And I think maybe there's a combination of fitness and business, which are my passions. So I started thinking about that a little bit more and designed this academy, which is focused really on 4 pillars, which is networking. We placed them in internships. They were placed all over the country, from IMG to NFL to National Lacrosse League to Major League Soccer. We place kids from all over in New York City. And then we do events every single night. We have a new speaker, and that speaker could be, head of programming for HBO, head of non-baseball events for New York Yankees, the chief marketing officer for the NFL. So we have different speakers to try to talk to the group about different areas of the sports industry so they can get educated and also network with them. And
Very
so
cool.
we designed it as an 8-week program. I remember when we first started it, and I was waiting for the first application, and we got it, and all of a sudden applications started flowing and flowing. And this year we've had hundreds of applications. We had about 20 students come for this year's class. We're selecting the students based on a number of criteria, but it's an incredible experience because I think we get very deep with each student and we personalize every single experience to what they want to do, whether it's public relations or TV production or sponsorship. And we try to find them also with mentors. We have a dual mentorship program where they get mentors in the industry, someone in their late 20s or 30s who's been in the industry for a while to mentor these college and graduate students. And then we mentee the high school of sports management, which are inner city kids in Brooklyn, New York. And so it's a dual mentorship program.
That's
It's
awesome.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just it up.
It sounds like a great program. Now, you guys had 20 students. Do you guys cap it at 20, or is this just what this was?
I don't think we can do too much more than maybe 25. We had 22 students actually, but
Okay.
it has to keep a very individualized approach.
Sure.
To what we're doing, and maybe a little bit more. We have a great new dormitory where everybody was, with a huge auditorium, but we also have to place them in internships, and we have it's hard to do 100 internships and keeping track of everybody at once. So
Yeah.
to me, this is something my David Ostreicher, who's the co-founder and managing director of the program, him and I are very passionate of the program, and we have to make an individualized approach.
Very cool. Very cool. Good deal. So I'm going to ask you a few questions that we ask every guest on the show. First one, firing off, is the most outlandish or unique experience. A lot of people in the sports industry have come across some things that many other industries do not come across. So love to get that experience from you.
I'll have to tell you an experience that we executed on. One of the most outlandish things, we've done a lot of outlandish creative projects, but
Sure.
we started this program with Dunkin' Donuts. And Dunkin' Donuts is, you use the name Dunkin'. What sport comes to mind but basketball,
Sure.
right? Dunkin'. And they wanted to do something around March Madness, and this was a while ago, maybe eight or so years ago. And we came up with a program called Dunkin' Mania. You couldn't call it Dunkin' Madness because of the trademark,
Right.
but it was a program to have the first ever head advertising. So tattoos on foreheads that said Dunkin' Donuts. And we hired students from around the country. We got these students in Boston to put on Dunkin' Donuts in their forehead, go into the NCAA tournament, and be part of the crowd. And then we alerted the Boston Globe about it. They had a huge front page story with the Dunkin' Donuts forehead advertising called head advertising. And usually at the NCAA tournament, you're not allowed to you don't usually see advertising, especially not from a non-sponsor. So it was non-traditional, and then we went to 10 schools, and we had a contest of students putting on the Dunkin' Donuts forehead advertising, and we rated them on top 1 through 10, and the winners got coffee, and it was something different, unique, and kind of outlandish.
That is cool. You can get college students to do a lot of things too, which is neat.
I remember in college too. So
awesome. And the last question that we do ask everybody, and we've kind of touched on it, but maybe you can go a little bit more specific too, is we'd like to find out what good advice you have for someone who is trying to break into the industry. So if you can touch a little bit more on that, that'd be great.
I think you need to be unique. You need to be different. Stand yourself out. So I get probably 400, 500 emails a day.
Right.
And so maybe 20, 30, 40 of them are people asking for advice or resumes. So, hitting me on Twitter, hitting me on Sunday night, doing something a little bit different, that you're not hitting someone at 11:30 when they're in the meeting and they're working for a corporate company. I'm a Duke fan too. So, and one of the reasons, I don't know if you heard, we brought on Jay Williams as a new partner.
I just saw that. Yep, that's great.
Which is exciting. Former National College Player of the Year and national champion of Duke. So someone gave me a Duke poster, autographed. It was amazing. And Sports Illustrated framed it, sent it to me. So I immediately thanked them, called them up. I had an interview. They ended up getting a job because they were qualified, but also, it was a unique thing they did.
Sure.
Was creating this Sports Illustrated.
That's awesome. Good deal. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on. It looks like you guys have you're involved with a lot of the up and comers in the sports industry, and that's really nice to see. You definitely keep your ear to the ground for a lot of the kids
I think
coming up.
you remember where you came from, and I picture myself, getting out of college, trying to position as a job change, and you have to have a great deal of empathy, and that's something that you have to have, with anything. And I call it a CEO approach, which is connect, empathy, and then also the opportunity.
Sure.
CEO, I try to install that to my staff, to everybody, but you have to be able to find their hot spots. We were talking before the call, you're from Virginia Beach. I went to Dave Matthews concert there. We went to Jewish Mother, and we were, kind of hit a spot that's home to you. And I think if you can do that, know different parts of geography, whether it's colleges they grew up in, find out a little bit more about the person. That'll help you get a job and help you stand out.
Great advice.
Thank you. Any other questions? Last chance.
I think that's it. I think we covered everything.
Great. Sure.
But I appreciate it. Ben Sturner, thanks again. Thanks again for coming on. Appreciate your time. My name is Gregory Scott Reinen. This is Behind Sports. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.